Yuki Sohma has a lot more to him than initially meets the eye. Not only is he popular at school for his mysterious and kind of unbothered demeanor, but he's also hiding the fact that he's secretly a member of the Zodiac to middling results. But what I want to talk about today is how being a member of the Zodiac and the Soma clan have genuinely caused Yuki a lot of lasting trauma that persists to this very day. Hi, my name's John, and for those of you who aren't familiar, I'm working on getting my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. And so I want to look at how Yuki Sohma's childhood traumas have led me to the conclusion that he has a clinically diagnosable case of PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, based on the official DSM-5 criteria. And so throughout this video, if I'm talking about a specific piece of criteria from the DSM-5, I'll make sure to put it in the top left-hand corner so that we're all on the same page the entire time. So if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to let us know by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and why not even ringing that notification bell so you never miss another upload. But with all that out of the way, let's just jump into the video. Now, when we hear about someone who may be dealing with PTSD, typically the image of a soldier or a police officer comes to mind because these tend to be highly affected populations. However, survivors of severe abuse or other traumatic situations are highly susceptible to a diagnosis of PTSD. So I guess if I'm gonna make that claim, I need to start from the top and determine what event could have happened in Yuki's life that may have resulted in the development of this PTSD. And I'm sure a lot of you already know the answer to this without me even saying it, but a lot of it stems from his experiences with Akito. Growing up, Yuki spent a lot of time in this singular dark room, like a caged rat, rarely being able to leave to get a moment's rest from the constant mental manipulation and torture from Akito, being consistently told that the world is pitch black and having everything that he imagined or believed denied. But I think that even beyond this, there was another trauma that led to Yuki being the man that we know now, and that was how he got stuck in that dark room in the first place. His parents sold him into that horrible life, and so not only was he coping with the abandonment of a likely abusive household to begin with, but now he was stuck with nothing but the awful thoughts Akito was sowing into his mind. These traumas of essentially being sold and imprisoned against his will more than qualify as traumas that could prompt PTSD, but it doesn't seem like they immediately did. When we meet Yuki, he's a very reserved young man, but doesn't seem to show any notable signs of PTSD that are blatantly related to Akito. We know that Yuki definitely resents him, but we aren't given many clues regarding the presence of PTSD. That is until we actually see him be re-exposed to the stressor. When Akito shows up at the high school on Momiji and Haru's first day, we as the viewers begin seeing Yuki's symptoms of PTSD firsthand begin emerging. His pupils widen and he begins trembling as Akito, the primary source of his trauma, gets closer and even touches him. This in turn leads us to see him having a flashback, almost as though these awful past events were recurring in that very moment. It's from here that we begin seeing him have very intrusive and involuntary memories and dreams that are related to these traumatic events, but it's unclear as to how long these have been happening and whether they'd even been happening since before the events of the anime started. A key example of this is when Shigure and Haru are talking to him in episode 18, and they mention when he went silent for a while, not being so different from what was happening to Kisa at the time. This tells us that he not only had these traumatic memories, but it illustrates how when he is reminded of these traumatic events, he may have an angry outburst, like how he yells at Shigure and storms away. This, paired with the recurring dreams being about his mother claiming to see him as nothing more than a tool, really illustrate just how pervasive this trauma has become for Yuki. All of this combined also tells me that his PTSD should be specified as being with delayed expression, since he didn't meet all of the criteria at the beginning of the anime, at least from what we see, until well after he had been removed from these traumas. Now we can even see how these symptoms affect his day-to-day life, where he actively makes an effort to avoid situations that might prompt these distressing feelings, such as avoiding visiting Akito and even the Soma estate unless he absolutely has to. I think that the most potent example of this is when he returns to the Soma estate after being gone for so long to check on Haru. As he approaches the gate, he begins having very intrusive flashbacks that Again, make him re-experience his trauma, and the psychological and physical distress of just simply approaching the gate causes him to have to stop as he begins coughing profusely, probably exacerbated by the issues he has with his lungs. It was this very scene that made me realize that this wasn't simply an anxiety disorder, like a panic disorder or agoraphobia, because while those can both involve panic attacks like he's having here, he's not being triggered by an agoraphobic situation, which I talk about at length in my video about Persona 5's Futaba, but instead it's the trauma associated with the Sohma estate that sends him into this panic. It's likely that he knew something like this would happen if he were to return to the estate, and that's what made him continually avoid it for so long, because both Akito and the estate are profound triggers for Yuki. This doesn't just affect where he goes and who he talks to, though. Yuki's PTSD explains a lot about how he thinks of himself and the world around him. Even though he's the survivor in these situations, we can hear him say when he's watching Tohru talking to Kisa that he feels shame for everything that's happened to him because of what he considers to be his weakness. Now, these really negative patterns of thinking go way past just these feelings of shame, though. We can see that he has significant trouble not only with feeling shame, but also blaming himself for all of these terrible things that have happened, even though he was completely helpless to do anything about it given the cruelty of Akito and the Sohma family structure. In essence, all of this is exacerbated by the fact that we see time and time again that Yuki feels as though he's not worthy of being around others. While we can see that he's genuinely able to do well with leading class discussions and taking the lead on planning school events like the festival in season 1, it also shows that his pervasive anxieties do not lie with others judging him, like in a social phobia, or in the act of being in a crowd, like an individual who may have agoraphobia. He clearly still feels detached and estranged from more intimate groups and friendships, even if there's no real reason for him to, which may stem from the trauma of having the memories of his friends erased by Hatori when he was a child, leading to him now keeping his peers from getting too close. It may sound simple, but I think that the most visually potent example of this was when he looked in at everyone chatting in the classroom, and instead of going in to join them, he lingered at the door before walking away. I do want to note, though, that this is one piece of criteria in particular that has slowly been chipped away at as the series has progressed, with him actively joining the group in a later episode. With all of this in mind, it's clear to me that these traumas have in fact had a lasting effect on Yuki's life. And while it would be easy to say that Tohru accepting him will magically make it all go away, this just isn't realistic. While it appears he may have grown a bit bolder after his encounter with Tohru on the beach, when we finally find out just how dear to him she is, this is just the first step of many in his road to recovery. And while if it were my choice, he would definitely go see a counselor about all of this to get some sincere treatment so he can finally open the lid fully and completely. I don't think that's super likely. But the seeds of growth are definitely there, and hopefully we get to continue seeing Yuki grow to be someone he can be proud of, and leave the fears and anxieties of the young boy locked alone in the dark room behind him as he moves forward. But that would do it for today's video, guys, and I want to pass the question off to you. Do you think that Yuki will be able to overcome his PTSD throughout the course of the show? Or do you think that this may be something that he'll have to endure for the rest of his life? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, why not liking this video, why not subscribing to my channel, and why not even ringing that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And on top of that, if you didn't know, I have a Fruits Basket podcast with my girlfriend where we talk about every episode in depth with theorizing, reactions, the whole run of the mill. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll have it in one of the end cards, so check that out. But as always, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic rest of your week, and why not even a fantastic rest of your month. And I will see you in the next video. Later.